Good evening. Good evening, and welcome to this editions of this broadcast. And I am your host, based here in the great state of Texas, here in the United States. I want to take a moment to thank all of you that have taken off your opportunity to watch this broadcast. And I want to take a moment to thank our Amazonian defense system that are fighting mercilessly in ground zero against the neighboring country, La Republic of Cameroon. I want to take a moment. I know many people are frustrated by the state in which the situation is going in Southern Cameroon. And I can share the pain and the feelings that they are having. It is very, very unfortunate. This is a war that the people of Southern Cameroon should have prosecuted. But the divisiveness, self-interest, self-centered, despite the fact that our people in ground zero are able to pull out to this state. We have certain individuals among us that when people are fighting for genuinely, others are enriching themselves for their own self-egoistic. And that is why we see massive execution of our people, because there is lack of trust and morals that had perpetrated within our own circle, and yet we cannot come to under one umbrella for the common good of the people of Southern Cameroon. However, I will continue to appreciate those who are genuinely fighting for the common good of all of us. Today, I am coming to speak like one of the sons of Southern Cameroon. And I'm also bringing this attention to the international community that have definitely paid a death ear. And I am going to be brutal in any aspect that I'm going to be speaking. But I just want to let you know that my goal is to make the world international community that our people's pain has made us become a nightmare wherever we are, whether we are in the United States, whether we are in Great Britain, whether we are in Asia, Russia, South America, and this pain continues to get it deeply into our bloodstream, and yet there is no one to come to our rescue. Maybe because the paint, the glue that we have on our skin has made us irrelevant for the world community to speak up or stand for against our support of our people for the common good of mankind. But however, this evening, today, I am going to be speaking about the people of Babanki. I want to let the people of Babanki that despite the circumstances, despite what is going on, we stand with you all together. At least 50 people have been brutally murdered by the military regime of Paul Biya. As I'm speaking, within the less than 48 to 96 hours, as I'm speaking, at least 50 people have been brutally slaughtered by the military of La Republic of Cameroon. One obvious question is, it shouldn't have happened if the world community that we look upon for leadership has systematically failed the people of Africa. And every little thing that happened brings us the living memory. Where are we? Who are we? In the midst of injustice of the international community. If the world was just, then we won't be able to speak up. The people of Southern Cameroon, for those who are watching, I usually take a recap of who we are and why it is imperative so that someone watching can understand the fundamental question why we are speaking up. The people of Southern Cameroon, for those who are not familiar, Southern Cameroon was the first democratic institution in West Africa, including the giant country Nigeria. Let me rephrase it again. The people of Southern Cameroon is the first strong democratic institution in West Africa, including the giant Nigeria. Southern Cameroon is the first ever elected government. Southern Cameroon is the first ever elected government, and the transfer of power to another elected government in the entire West Africa, including the giant country Nigeria. Why I am more specifically mentioning Nigeria is because Nigeria is the most powerful in economic in terms of per capita in the entire West Africa. But however, democratic institutions, even right now, they have elected certain prime minister or a certain president, which they have fully transferred power, but however, they have not demonstrated and elected without cohesion and peaceful transfer of power. One would say that there was a democratic institution in Nigeria, but however, the peace of transfer of power demonstrated in West Africa began by the people of Southern Cameroon. So when did this happen? Well, the first, after this, let me recapture again. When the United Nations, after the defeat of Germany and the rest of the world, after the Second World War, which ended in 1945, there were certain territories that were under the control of the Germans. So those territories were placed under the Allied members, and these include France, Germany, and some other smaller countries in Europe. Although United States came late, did not acquire much of the territory to per se under the control of the United States. However, Great Britain and France occupied most of the major Allied territories that were under the control of Germany. Southern Cameroon, which I am speaking right now, was one of those territories that were under the British administering authority. And the last British administering authority during the colonial era was Sir Andrew Cohen. Sir Andrew Cohen was the last British administering authority that coordinated the activities of the people of Southern Cameroon in Enugu House of Assembly in Nigeria. These elected officials of the people of Southern Cameroon meet regularly in the Enugu House of Assembly, whereas those members of the Nigeria House of Assembly will also meet for the deliberations of the issues affecting the two territories, Nigeria and the Southern Cameroon. Because of the large nature of the land of the Nigeria, it was basically convenient for the British administrator to be based in Enugu House of Assembly in Nigeria. So in doing so, the elected officials of the people of Southern Cameroon will travel to Nigeria to meet and discuss matters affecting both countries under the auspices or the control of the British administrator, the last, which was Sir Andrew Cohen. The people of La République du Cameroun was not part and pieces of this demonstration. The people of La République du Cameroun was under the French administering authority, and that is France. Why am I laying this emphasis, giving this background scenario for a common person coming in now, watching this, my broadcast, will understand the fundamental basis why the people of Southern Cameroon were deprived of their right of existence. Remember, on the contrary of La République du Cameroun, many of you understood Amadou Ahidjo to be the president of La République du Cameroun. Fundamental question, how did Amadou Ahidjo become a president of La République du Cameroun? And that is the open question that left unknown. Many call Amadou Ahidjo as the founding father of La République du Cameroun. Others do not know the concept how he emerged as the potential candidate to manage La République du Cameroun. So, why was the people of Southern Cameroon demonstrating or practice democracy while the French wasn't? By the United Nations resolutions, it was stated that they should prepare those territories for eventual independence. That means to demonstrate the governance, the rule of government, how it should be able to manage its government. And so this question came, the actual person that's supposed to have provided a clear elected democratic institution in La République du Cameroun was the UPC. The UPC under Ned Tumasa. The UPC was supposed to provide an executive arm of government in La République du Cameroun. And then now the question is, who is France in the meddling of the internal affairs, as they were supposed to be coordinating a democratic institution in La République du Cameroun. But France never did what they were supposed to. So that is why you see the pain and suffering of the entire West Africa, including La République du Cameroun, that is Mali, that you're currently witnessing what the crisis that is going on. Gabon, Senegal, and most of the French coordinated, there were totally 14. France never paid attention to address the self-governance of those people, whereas in the people of Southern Cameroon, the British demonstrate the self-governance. And the people of Southern Cameroon was the first to be able to master the pieces of governance in West Africa and able to elect its first prime minister, and that was Dr. Endele, who became the first prime minister of Southern Cameroon. Later on, John Gufforja became the next prime minister of Southern Cameroon. So whereas what is going on in La République du Cameroun, first, the UPC, which was the leading political figure that was supposed to produce a candidate, because there were supposed to be 26 members in the House of Assembly in La République. But the visionary of Netu Massa of the UPC became a threat to France. I understand many of you know of the Maquisards, for those who are live up to the time, know of Maquisards. Why were they used? So France paraphrase and understand the vision of the UPC and declare UPC was banished and a stewardship was born. And that stewardship that was never elected, despite the fact that there was a political party called the UPC that was based in Douala. Of course, Douala is a city which is a littoral province. So the UPC was banned, and many of its leaders were hunted by France under the control of the military of France. That they were, for many of you, you haven't heard the word guillotine. Guillotine was a form of execution that were applied by France to members of the UPC leader wing, that some of them were being executed. And maybe if you want to know the definition of guillotine, that was used by Louis XVI or Louis XVIII of France, that certain members of the upper superior class in France were being executed. Their neck were chopped off. That is what they mean by guillotine. So this guillotine was applied by France against those who oppose the presence of France. And these pain feelings that continue to arise is this that continue to perpetrate in the entire West Africa against France, because France has never been the good partner for the goodness of Africa as a whole. And that is why I am bringing this background in order to talk about what is going on in the Babanki massacre. So, La République du Cameroun, since it's the United Nations Resolution 1514 XV, in which in 1960 they gained their independence, they have never fully demonstrated a leadership, elected member of its government. It is always from one fraudulence to the next fraudulence, from one fraudulence to the next fraudulence. Remember, Ahidjo was told by his colonial master, France, that he has a few time to live and that he was suffering from an illnesses, that he needs to hand over power to his next person. And that was the stewardship of the current Paul Biya, who is mentally deranged. So now, let's come back to Southern Cameroon. No, before those leaders of the UPC, they took asylum. Imagine the people of UPC seek asylum in Southern Cameroon. Member of a foreign country, La République du Cameroun. That is why I call them neighboring country, La République du Cameroun. So, but for many of you don't know why I call them the neighboring country, La République du Cameroun, because during the guillotine or the massacre by France in the UPC, they seek asylum in Southern Cameroon territory. Imagine a foreign nation that were seeking asylum has overcome, control our people, control our own territory, and we become a powerless, and now we become a province in their country. I mean, it's painful for me to stand and express, it is deeply frustrated. I wrote, it's not the first letters. I've written to the British government. I've written to the British Foreign Secretary. Let me read the Foreign Secretary. They are very careful with their choice of word. The British Foreign Secretary are very careful with their choice of words. They make us understand that we are a territory in La Republic of Cameroon. The British government completely erased the people of Southern Cameroon and make us understand that we are a territory in a foreign country, La Republic of Cameroon. And that is why they remain verbally silent, even despite the fact that the truth should prevail. Now, let me read from the UK Foreign Secretary for African Affairs on a letter that was addressed to me. Listen and pay close attention. The Foreign and Commonwealth Development Office. Dear Mr. Daniel, thank you for your email of the 12th of May to the Prime Minister about the situation in Cameroon. Pay close attention and the choice of word. We are responding as a team responsible for the relationship with Cameroon in the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office. The UK is deeply concerned about the crisis in the Northwest and Southwest. Northwest and Southwest is a colonial fixture of language you use to suppressively address the people of Southern Cameroon. But let me read the entire letter, then we go over the analysis. The UK is deeply concerned about the crisis in the Northwest and Southwest region of Cameroon. We regularly raise our concerns about the crisis with the government of Cameroon and the highest level. The Minister for Africa visited Cameroon in April 2023 and met with members of Cameroon government, including the Prime Minister and the Secretary General to the Presidency, to set up the UK commitment to supporting a peaceful resolution through inclusive dialogue. The Minister for Africa also reiterated the importance of humanitarian access to those in need, alongside the development outcomes, those impacted by the conflict. Our last 5 years, the UK has delivered over £20 million of development assistance to Cameroon. The UK humanitarian funding in 2021 to 2022 supported the World Food Programme and the International Committee of Red Cross to reach 1.4 million people in 2022 with food supplies, sanitation, healthcare, and social protections. More broadly, the UK is committed to working with the international partners to call for an end to the violence and the regularly raise human rights concerns with Cameroon in multilateral fora. We also continue to urge the government of Cameroon to engage fully with the Office of High Commissioner for Human Rights to ensure the protection and promotion of human rights. That was the letter addressed by the UK Commonwealth Development Office to me in regard to the crisis. I appreciate the UK government for its continued supply of food and humanitarian to the people in this place. But that is not what the people of Southern Cameroon wanted. Late Cardinal Toomey, in a statistical analysis, in a survey statistical analysis, which 1,000 people were surveyed on the question of the relationship between the people of Southern Cameroon and La Republic of Cameroon. That statistical analysis that overwhelmingly the people of Southern Cameroon want a complete independence. That should be a clear message for the UK to understand that it is the UK to demonstrate that they stood with the leadership, that it was a systematic failure of their part to bring us with this nightmare by giving us the poor options. Do you choose as an independent entity by joining Nigeria, or do you choose as an independent entity to join La Republic of Cameroon? Not only have we been downgraded and degraded to become a province from joining as equal entity, we have downgraded, degraded to a so-called a province in a foreign country, La Republic of Cameroon. Imagine the people that practice democratic government, elected their leaders, meet frequently to demonstrate their leadership skill, has now become a province in a foreign country, La Republic of Cameroon. Imagine that if we were speaking, or if our color were equally to the majority of the European color, imagine our problem would have been addressed immediately. But now, because our color does not meet the European color, and that is why we are suffering, we are broadcasting, we are speaking, and yet it doesn't draw attention to no particular body. Let me bring you to exactly what is the cause of today's broadcast. Now listen, let's see what is happening. Less than 48 to 70 to 96 hours in Southern Cameroon territory, specifically in Babanki, at least 50,000 people have been deliberately massacred and some of their dead bodies disposed in less than 96 hours by the Republic of Cameroon. Now let's watch how people are fleeing. Now you can hear the barrel of guns, that live ammunition that were being shot at point blank of human by the brutal regime of Pobia. Imagine. Let me go back to UK again, because UK is more of specific to our nightmare, to our suffering. UK are responsible for what we are going through in our lifetime in history. I wrote Boris Johnson. At the time, Boris Johnson was fighting for the UK government to separate from the European Parliament. One will ask, UK is an upper level, so you can't be compelled the UK government leaving European Parliament and the people of Southern Cameroon leaving La Republique. Every scenario is equal, irrespective of the largeness, the position, the mightiness. They are all equally the same and deserve equal look-up, equal respect. You can't say because this person is not a human being. I give a scenario that when a patient comes to the hospital, this is what the doctor look at. He look at when the patient came into the hospital, the patient is anemic. It means that the patient has a hemoglobin probably 4 or 5. That patient is anemic. What the doctor does, they do type and cross. They do type and cross and then transfuse. The purpose of making type and cross is to look for compatibility. It doesn't look whether the blood was from a white person. It doesn't look whether the blood was from a black person. It doesn't look whether the blood was from an Indian. It doesn't look whether the blood was from who. It looks for type, for compatibility. So in other words, you can get blood from a black person. You can get blood from Indian, from Chinese, from Asian, So the doctors looking for compatibility and not for who is the person, whether it's a white or black or Indian or Portuguese or Switzerland, whatever. So that is why I am bringing this comparative analysis to portray that whether UK is leaving European Parliament is equally as the people of Southern Cameroon should have the freedom to leave the people of La Republique du Cameroon. Because it shouldn't have happened in the first place. If UK can barely live with European Parliament just for basically 4 years, there was no gunshot as the evidence that I'm shown. There was no UK citizen shot. There was nothing. Normal trade was still equally going. There was no harassment. But the UK chose to leave European Parliament peacefully. Why can't the people of Southern Cameroon be given that opportunity to leave La Republique du Cameroun? Because it shouldn't have happened in the first place. Why are we inanimous that are being shot by a country that should not have having that privilege over the sovereign will of the people of Southern Cameroon? And yet we speak up and it doesn't draw attention. Imagine, despite the fact that at least 50 people were shot dead, the entire embassies in La Republique du Cameroun, France, Britain, including my own country, United States, remain muted about this crisis that is going. None of the embassy has issued a communique. None of them, they remain relatively muted. And this draws my attention to President Bill Clinton. This is a similar scenario. When the Kosovo crisis erupted, they were being murdered like animals. Bill Clinton, the President of the United States, put an end to that crisis. And today the people of Kosovo are living happily and peacefully. And yet we become a slaughtering house because our color doesn't meet the central color. That is why massacre like this, the embassies remain muted as though it doesn't seem to touch any part of them. Why is it that human, especially the black race, must be a suffering in every part of the world that it cannot draw attention to the international community? Why is it that a United Nations Resolution 1514 XV cannot be fully applied on the question of the Southern Cameroon? You listen to the UK Foreign Commonwealth Office. They were very careful and cautious with their words. They make us to understand that they recognize La République du Cameroon. They do not recognize the people of Southern Cameroon. And that they could not even mention the word Southern Cameroon in their note. This by what I wrote to them. Why should our people be living in miserable? Why? Why should our people be living in a miserable? In a world that's supposed to be peaceful? Just a United States phone call Yaoundé to order. They will be willingly coming to pay attention to the United States. A simple phone call from the U.S. Secretary of State. Ask him there. This is what I want. Things will resolve, but the United States remain muted. Former U.S. ambassador, speak up. He was replaced because the power that be did not want to see it, because they want to please France. Remember that this pain that is eating into the people of Southern Cameroon is affecting the people of Africa, and they watch it very carefully. It's not what you do to the mighty nation of Africa. It's what you do to the common person that draw a foundation of how Africans view the world, how their crises are being resolved. Imagine a get up. Babanki is simply 30 minutes to my village. Imagine I see my people massacred in this format. And you expect me to feel harmony. You expect me to feel harmony. Seeing my people that's supposed to be living in a home, in a place they call their home. A foreign country impose their will upon the people of Southern Cameroon. A divisional officer, a foreign divisional officer, a foreigner in Southern Cameroon, coming to detect how they want to appoint our royal fondom. It is quite barbaric. It is quite barbaric that our royal fondom, in which we fully respect it, become a divisional officer's decree to sign and designate our royal fondom. That is barbaric in our entire culture. You may do that in Southwest, but you cannot do that in Northwest. We are not tolerant to rubbish in anyhow or any form, in anywhere in Southern Cameroon territory. Our people need freedom. They need freedom to live. They need freedom to be happy. They need the freedom. They don't need someone to infringe upon their will. And that is why I am speaking this evening, to re-echo the message that our people need freedom. The freedom to live, the freedom to be able to move happily. Our economy has been sabotaged by the very foreign country, La République du Cameroun. And yet, they see us more of a colonial territory, despite the fact that we were the exemplary moral democratic institution in the entire West Africa combined. Let's watch that video again. That is our citizens. That our brothers that are being shot like animals. Like animals. Fired directly like animals. And yet, we have no voice to speak. we are obligated to abide by the condition that does not merit. It is painful, fellow world community. It is painful to watch the injustice that the people of color are experiencing. Is barbaric. Could you reimagine that the vote that was voted in 1961 on Southern Cameroon is more than the vote that was voted for the sovereignty of La Republique in 1960? And yet, we have become a territory in that country that has a lesser vote. Can you imagine? Can you visualize? Can you feel the pain in which I am coming from? Our economy has been uprooted. Britain is fully aware from the late Queen Elizabeth. She understood that the subsidies that UK government under the Queen of England were providing to the northern state that joined Nigeria. But we have excess surplus in our balance sheet. We do not need surplus from the Queen of England, because we have excess in our balance sheet. And yet, they did not foresee us to be able to manage our resources, because they want to please France. And I am very frank that this painful feeling that is eating upon us, Africa, is something that UK should understand. The appetite in South Africa. The appetite in South Africa. The South Africans are choosing Russia as an alternative because of the painful feeling of the appetite. It's not that Russia is the best alternative, but the painful of the apartheid regime in South Africa is remembering the people of South Africa. And UK should understood that this painful feeling is eating upon the people of Southern Cameroon. And we are not going to tolerate this nightmare. We deserve better. We deserve better. We deserve to leave our independent country. We don't need a foreign French colony that has no basic and fundamental right to control our people, shooting our people like a guinea pig animals, as you watch on the video. Fellow brothers and sisters, it's time we understand that we must stand as a unified entity against the colonial, against the military occupation, against La Republique. We need to stand as a one unified people and speak up. I couldn't believe that at least 50 people massacred, no embassy could issue a communique and remain relatively silent, including the US Embassy. That is the first time in history that the United States Embassy remained muted on a crisis of this magnitude. Of course, the United States should listen to the Kenyan president in his analysis of 50 head of state that came to the United States. Remember that this message is propagated deeply into the African community, and it's not going to be a better choice. I urge the United States to stand for obligation and speak up. The people of Southern Cameroon deserve better. It's good that the United States stand up. France is no longer a viable. It's just a corrupted system. And that is how they corrupted the rest of its 14 colonies. We are not going to be a part and parcel of the corrupted system. This is my message. I wish all the people of Babanki that we stand with you in spirit, in our cultural heritage, and in our freedom. And the foreign divisional officer that is propagating to destroy our royal fondom. We need our territory. We need our fundamental value. We need La Republique to exit Southern Cameroon completely. And that has been our message. I wish you all a happy and prosperous evening. This is Comrade Funton Daniel speaking lively here in the great state of Texas, here in the United States. I wish you all a happy and good night.